Hello, and welcome back to Method News, where we talk about science-based manifestation methods and concepts. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're into this topic. Let's get started. Today, we're talking about cognitive bias and how it forms a false reality in our manifestations. Everyone has cognitive bias. This is absolutely essential to our survival, in which our brain filters information from the environment based on our identity, is our predictive processing program, what we should do, when we should do it, how we should react to things, right? That's our identity. That's ego. It's a program for what to do. Okay. So cognitive bias comes in because we have to have limits to how big the program is. It uses a lot of energy. We need to scan for safety. And at the fundamental level, we're not built to perceive objective reality. That's not what we're for. We're built for survival and reproduction. So that is what our biological systems primary protocol is for. Okay. So pattern recognition is where cognitive bias starts because we're always looking for the environment for proof of safety or success or failure. And we're always looking for the foundations of our protocol of who we are, because who we are dictates what we do, how we perceive things, how we make sense of the story that we're experiencing. So our brains create patterns of specific neurons firing together repeatedly. And this gives us a sense of normalcy, consistency, balance. So identifying the patterns in your behaviors, in your thoughts, is a tool to predict how you're going to interpret safety and success. Because, the brain does need to save energy. It uses a lot of energy. And rewiring our identity takes a lot of physical strain on our bodies and brains, on our metabolism, because the rewiring isn't just a bunch of thoughts changing around. It is the physical structure of our brain firing between neurons that is changing. So, things like emotions, they use the same system of pain as physical pain because it can actually be dangerous not to follow, not to pay attention to your emotions, not to notice what these sensations in your body are trying to tell you about your environment, right? We can't perceive everything through our conscious mind. It would just take too much awareness. So emotional reasoning comes in and we feel like reactive because our system is like, I've been trying to tell you, I think we're going to die. Do something about this, right? And it's a lot of the time a false positive in our current, situation in society. It depends on where you live and who you are and what your situation is, right? But most of the time now, people are not in the same survival situations as they were, you know, thousands of years ago and for 100,000, well, like 300,000 years, right? During the time that we were hunter gatherers, everything that we did socially was reflected emotionally. And the emotions were meant to keep us with the group, to keep us coherent, to keep us alive. Because being on your own, you couldn't survive, which is not the exact same thing now. You do, still need other people to grow and to expand and to evolve, but we don't need them for physical survival the way that we used to. But our brains don't know that. They don't know that a nasty email from your boss, your tribe leader, in that context isn't dangerous, right? What if the tribe leader throws me out? Where will I go? Well, you could find another job, but in the past, you couldn't just go find another tribe, right? Maybe you didn't even know anybody else from another tribe. So our systems have evolved for this. And we develop this kind of bubble world syndrome where we hyperfixate on certain patterns or identities or targets that filter through our beliefs and memories too and our experiences, right? And we resist anything that's contrary to that story. So if we see ourselves as identity, I am a nurse, anything that is counter to identity of nurse either gets ignored or rewritten to prioritize the identity of nurse, whatever it is that our system has perceived nurse is. Nurses take care of people, nurses are supportive, nurses are overworked, you see how these these identities become perceptions, become beliefs about ourselves, and we can get hyper fixated on them so that we don't realize we can reprogram that part, right? So this is where you get into a fixed mindset state instead of a growth mindset. Fixed mindset is going along with your nervous system's belief that if I change, I may be in danger, in physical danger, right? My life may be at stake here. And if you don't have like a new program to go to, it's going to go back to the old one. If you have a situation where you don't have a new identity program to go to and there's very little ego, very little identity to work with, you can literally get into a state where your system just blinks out. You can't do anything. This is where catatonia comes in, right? Now, that's the severe end. That's the extreme end of having, you know, no protocols for who to be or what to do on a regular basis. But even so, if you keep getting locked into that self-referencing loop of very restrictive identities, eventually you're going to run out of room because you still need reality to reflect that back to you. You still need to be able to filter out information and reality that makes sense. So let's use this one, and you know what? If I upset some people with this, you're just going to have to understand we're working with identity structures in the sense of neuroscience. So get on board. So if you believe you are a cat, but you do not possess the physical body of a cat, you're going to run into problems. You can't go get a rabies vaccination. You can't jump excessively high like a cat can jump, and if you think that you can, you're going to run into problems. Do you see how messing with your identity in this way is going to create issues and conflicts in the real world matrix structure? Now, symbolically, sure, I'm a dragon symbolically, 100%. Like, that is such an intricate part of my human identity in the ways that I perceive the symbolism of dragon. Do I think that I am a physical dragon here, right now, in this 3D that I'm going to start blowing fire? No. No. It is symbolic. It is metaphorical. But it can still be part of your identity. It can be a very useful part. And it can be a great way to break out of bubble world syndrome because you can kind of project it out of what you've known to be your human self so much. But you don't want to get lost in it. You don't want to get confused about, I am still basically a human biological survival system, right? You don't want to go off on a tangent. But when you're manifesting things and you're trying to get bigger results than you've gotten before, when you're trying to get more, when I say bigger, I mean more into your awareness, get more past your filter, because there's a lot available in the field, right? But you're not seeing it. You're not perceiving the opportunities. You're not perceiving the story triggers for that particular story that you want. Say you've got this identity of a poor person your whole life, right? It's been reinforced socially. It's been reinforced by evidence. And you've done this all your life. When you're trying to break out of that bubble world syndrome, using something like, I am the essence of money. I am the spiritual aspect of money, will allow you to get in touch with your money identity. And this works for everything, right? And it's there, but it's in your shadow because your brain has filtered it out. It doesn't mean it's not still available in your unconscious. You just got to cherry pick because your brain doesn't want to get freaked out by, overusing energy. Now, this is where the brain loves novelty. About 10 to 15% of the time, it will like novelty that is adjacent to what is already familiar, right? Because your brain really does. It needs new things all the time. It's going to get bored if you're doing the same thing all the time, but it creates its own novelty in conjunction with the current identity. So your identity and who you are is always changing from moment to moment as you draw in new information. But those aspects of you, all those different parts that make up your predictive protocols, they are evolving in ways that either self-reinforce or if you decide to check the evidence. This is where evidence comes in because confirmation bias is really easy to fall into. It is so easy because it's energy efficient. We're like, oh, we already have this belief. We already vetted this. We already know, quote unquote, this. So we don't have to investigate it. And that saves energy. You don't want to try to do that with everything. You will get exhausted really quickly. I would know. because I tried to do it a lot. You have to cherry pick. You have to cherry pick in the focus of the particular manifestation you want. So if you want to manifest money, focus in on that money identity, right? Now it's going to change other parts of your identity too, because everything's connected. Your whole system is connected. Your body identity is connected. Everything is one system in many parts, many very independently functioning parts, because they all need different things. Your body needs something different than what your brain needs sometimes, but getting your system as coherent as possible means intentionally focusing on what you want to perceive the most, because what you repeat in your attention is the result that you're going to get from your filter. So easy manifestations are when your brain is like feeling ready, safe, ready for novel experiences like new curtains, new restaurants, a change in your exercise program, different people. And you can use all of these things to align your evolving identity instead of forcing and twisting, to align your evolving identity, your evolving story about who you are, what you do, what life is for you, how it tastes and feels and smells, right? And how you interpret those sensations can evolve into the identity that you want, the experience that you want, the filters that you want to get. And it can be really gentle. You don't have to brute force your way in. And usually when you brute force and you just try to repetitively force and force and force, and this can be different for different things, it can be different for everybody. But when you're trying to make it happen, you're really reinforcing that you don't have it. This is also why I say, wanting something isn't as useful as liking something, loving something. I love having this thing. I love that this thing exists, because wanting introduces the idea of scarcity in your system, as though it is not available, as though you don't have it within your possession right now, but you do, because you have it in your imagination. And the brain doesn't know the difference between the actual experience and you deeply imagining and envisioning the experience. It's only after the fact that you're like, oh, that was just imagination, that wasn't real. Really? What is real? How do you define real? And you lucid dreamers will be able to follow me on this one, because some of that is so much more real than real. And it's like, okay, if this was consistent and all in a line, this would be a life story. But no, focusing in on this particular story right now. Focus on seeking evidence that you have what you want available in your field. Just don't say, it's mine right this second and I'm experiencing right now, but that is available. The potential is available. The situations, stories could come to you, or you could walk into them. These opportunities are available in your field, and always look for evidence of that. Now, when you have the ones that say, oh, I can't have this, I'm not good enough to have this, I'm not the sort of person who has this is where you need to notice first thing that program is there. Just notice that it's there, and then deliberately expand it. Well, that might be true right this second, but also I have this available and this available and more available. So don't try to counter it so much as uh, bring it along with you. Kind of, how do you get a stray cat to come to you, right? Some stray cats are never going to come to you. They don't want to. But in this case, any of the stray cats can come to you if you can get aligned with, if you can pick up what they're putting down, right? If you can get aligned with them feeling safe and secure and successful around you. This is the same thing with your nervous system. Like I know I like do so many things along with cats, but they're such a good analogy for things, because they're so in tune with their systems. They're so in tune with their biological systems. Any ego that they have is just completely aligned with their biological purpose. And the more coherent you get with that, honestly, the smoother your experience is, the more fluid, just like a cat. So when you're making the changes, always opt for the path of least resistance. And understand that you're always going to have some sort of bias about something. You're always going to have something that limits your program, and it's supposed to. But make sure that those limitations aren't preventing you from having the experiences and the manifestations that you want. So I hope this has helped you to understand a little bit more about cognitive bias and false realities and manifestation, and to give you some ideas of how to expand your awareness and your mental filters to include more success in those particular areas of your life, of the things that you want to manifest. Thank you for listening. Please like, subscribe, and sign up for the Method Muse newsletter in the description below.